environment and about climate change, which are all interconnected with agriculture. If anyone
Yes.
wants to attend, did you get it, Zen?
No, I didn't. I'm actually resending out the invitation unless I don't know. Anne, can you redo that? Can you do that for me while we're on the call right now? Can
So
you just
you did receive
clone?
what I just sent?
Yeah, no, I can't look at it right now. I need you to give me a second because I'm setting up the call. So, Anne, I need you to send out the link to tonight's call again. I told people I'd send it out like 5 minutes in advance, but then I got chatting with Michael, so we didn't do that. If you just go and clone the email and send that out again, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, and Pat, I will look at the email in just a moment, but first I need to start setting up the call, and maybe I can look at it at the end, okay? And we can get to our illustrious guests.
Right. There might be others, including them, that want to attend.
Okay, yeah, we're going to address that at the end though, okay? I'm going to introduce our guest. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Zen Honeycutt of Moms Across America, and this is our Monday night Moms Connect call. And this call is for mothers and others who want actions and solutions to create healthy communities. And now is the time to be creating healthy communities. We have never had historically this type of support from a new administration, whether you love them or hate them. We think that the country and the world can come together over health. And so we are going to be working together with people from all aisles and parties and non-parties or whatever, and creating a healthy community and a healthy America. So we're super thrilled that you're here tonight. This is probably one of the most important calls we have ever had. And we're super honored to have three farming specialists on the call with us tonight. Each one of them could have 2 hours on their own time. But we know you, our moms, and and network want to get the solutions stat and summarized so that you can communicate it to your farmer friends and to people in your life. And what I'm imagining and thinking of are the moms who went up to farmers markets and said, I want organic corn. How come you're still selling this GMO corn? And every time one of our moms, I think it was Jessica, did this for a year at our farmers market. And finally, after a year, the farmer said, you know what? We've got some organic corn the next year, right? He said, we've got some organic corn for you. And so when our moms speak to the farmers about what they want, it's really best if they're educated about what the solutions are. So we want to empower you, moms and dads and uncles and aunties and brothers and cousins, with the solutions. And so we're going to do that tonight with our three special guests. And I'm going to I'm just going to say all their names first, but then before each one talks, I'm going to introduce them a little bit more thoroughly. So the first guest is Michael McNeil. He's a PhD from Ag Advisory, and he's also the chairman of the board of Triata World. And so he's going to speak first. He's the CEO of Ag Advisory. And I'll talk a little bit more about him in a second. The next guest is going to be Bob Streit. He's an agronomist with a whole bunch of initials after his, credentials after his name. And he's going to be talking about remediating the soil from glyphosate. And then we have Frank Arlia Jr. He's the CEO of Harvest Harmonics, and he's going to be talking about a crop boosting solution that will blow your mind. Like you won't believe it's true, and that's okay, because he's got lots of studies and science to back up what he's saying. And we're super excited to have all of these solutions being presented today. Okay, so first we're going to get started with Mike McNeil, but actually, yeah, okay, and we'll do the news at the end. I want to make sure you all get your time. So Michael McNeil he has 55 years of experience as a research scientist and agriculture consultant. He consults with farmers on approximately 165,000 acres of cropland in the Midwest. And in addition, he consults with regenerative farming systems in Ukraine, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Canada. He's currently working with farmers to assist them in transitioning to regenerative organic crop production systems. And he's transitioned his farm to organic production 17 years ago. So guess what, folks? We can do it without GMOs and toxins. He's living proof. And he's passionate about the relationship between improved soil health and relationship with human health. You will hear that from him. And he's currently the chairman of the board of Triata World, which is a nonprofit organization devoted to research and teaching about farming, food, and health that enhances both the soil and human health by removing heavy metals and petrochemicals
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I so appreciate, yeah, we've got some applause here. I so appreciate you taking the time. I know you're an extremely busy man. So what is the number one thing that you want to tell us about the past couple of decades of agrochemical farming? And specifically, we'd like to focus on glyphosate tonight. But what is something that you think maybe most people don't know about the impact of agrochemical farming?
One of the problems that we've had is as our farms have, shall I say, modernized, they've gotten larger. And with that, we started using a lot of chemistry. So things that end inside are poisons. We have herbicides that kill plants, insecticides that kill insects, fungicides that kill the fungus, pathogenic fungi. And we keep dumping more and more millions of tons of poison on our soil. That's a fact. That's the direction we've gone. What is the problem with that? Our soil health has deteriorated dramatically. Human health is directly correlated to soil health. If you do not have a healthy soil producing a healthy plant, which is then fed to animals and humans, you will not have healthy humans. And so I'd like to spend just a little time with one of the herbicides. So I'm only picking on one of the sides, but one that's very dangerous, and explain how it works. And it'll give you kind of a feeling of why I'm saying what I'm saying. So I'd like to share my screen if I could.
You should be able to. There you go.
Let's see. There we go. Okay. So I have an hour presentation I typically give on this. So I'm cutting this down and keeping it simple and straightforward. Just the facts. We did some research. As scientists, we looked at 1/40th of the recommended rate of glyphosate herbicide. 1/40th is a very, very small amount, pretty much equivalent to what drift could be. A wind could blow that from a neighbor's farm onto yours. What impact does that have on the plant? Well, it affects both the plant and the soil, but let's start with the plant. It reduced the amount of iron uptake by the root by about 50%. It reduced the manganese uptake by about 80%. You say, well, so what? Manganese, what's it important? That is basically the plant's system. It's its immune system. Without manganese, the plant has no immunity to disease. And that's how glyphosate works. You tie up the manganese, plant gets sick and dies. We also tied up or reduced the uptake of zinc. But even more importantly, let's go over here and look what happens when you move it from the root to the growing point of the plant. Dramatic reduction. About 90% of the iron is unable to move. 95% of the manganese can't move. And about 80% of the zinc doesn't move. Okay,
so can you explain that one more time? What do you mean by root, the left one on the left, root
okay,
uptake versus
the
shoot?
roots take up the minerals.
Yep.
But once it's in the root, it has to go up to the plant
The
top
shoot. I see what
to
you're saying.
grow.
Yep.
So the new emerging leaf doesn't have anything to grow. Now, what do we eat? Well, eventually we eat the reproductive parts of most plants. If it's lettuce or something like that, we're eating the leaves. There is no mineral in them at all.
And can you repeat those numbers again? It says iron, it looks like 85%.
Oh, the iron, we're down about 85%. Manganese is about 95,
Mhm.
zinc is about 80.
Wow.
So it is pretty poor. So I looked at this research and okay, that's really good. They check this out in the lab. It's been repeated. Uh, very believable information. But being a farmer, I have to go check it out myself. So I found a place where I had a field that was organic, been organic for several years, right next to a field that was GMO and had Roundup applied to it. And so I walked up the fence row and then I walked into the GMO field and I went 50 rows into the field. So I felt I was far enough away from any side effects or anything. And I picked a plant. And then I counted 10 plants down from that and harvested that ear. I did the same thing in the organic field. Went 50 rows in, picked a plant, went down 10 plants and picked that ear. That's as random as you can get. Then I wanted to find out what's in that grain. Well, it had glyphosate in the GMO. Look at the amount of formaldehyde.
And was this
200
parts per billion? Parts per billion or parts per million?
parts per million.
Yeah.
It's really high.
So this was you. We published this when we first got started and people went crazy about it. We didn't know who it was. So now we know who it was, Michael.
Uh-oh,
That's
I
amazing.
committed myself, huh?
Yeah.
But notice the test weight is a little less, but the sugar level, look at the bricks. 1,
Wow.
over here 20. Dramatic
Okay.
differences.
That's a huge difference. But why formaldehyde? Why is that so high in the GMO
I'm going to
corn?
show you that in just a moment.
Okay.
The calcium 14 versus 6,130.
What?
Dramatic differences. The only thing that looked like it did, it improved the amount of chlorine because the GMOs had 10 parts per million and the organic only 1. You don't really want chlorine in your food.
Right.
So all of this is pretty scary information. And yet we're telling people, we just you mentioned earlier this evening how we told Mexico they have to accept our GMO grain. So
Yeah.
we're asking them to take this left side column. You can see why people are upset about it.
Yeah. It's like we're selling them garbage that's toxic.
Right. Okay, now I'm going to get a little more complex here, but what happens to the soil health? Well, fusarium is a pathogenic fungi. When you add or spray the field with Roundup, add glyphosate to the soil, it increases the fusarium by 15 times. If you look up in the upper right-hand corner, you see 2 petri dishes. These petri dishes were streaked with the fusarium fungus, and you see over here, we got 1 of them growing. These didn't even grow. Over here, you have 15 times the growth. Why are they different? We put 1 drop of spray concentrate Roundup into this petri dish. And the fusarium took off like crazy. It really grew. Why is that important? Because the fusariums give off things like aflatoxin, vomitoxin, ochratoxin. These are all very poisonous to the human body.
And what is a
Aflatoxin,
fusarium, Michael?
fusarium is a fungus.
Fungus. Okay. And it gives off these mycotoxins.
It's just, and it gives off these mycotoxins.
Okay.
Now, for example, this year, most of the oats grown in northern Iowa, Minnesota area, even into Canada, are being rejected because of the high level of mycotoxin. All of them being rejected. So now they're running short, so they just up the level allowable.
Of course, like they did with glyphosate. Would
Right.
you equate the mycotoxins from fusarium to sweat or poop of the fusarium?
more of this sweat.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so when you look at the soil, to make it even worse in the soil, we saw what happened in a petri dish, but in the soil, glyphosate is also a good antibiotic, and it kills the pseudomonads. The pseudomonas bacteria, I call them the policemen of the soil. They keep the fusarium, pythium, and phytophthora, which are the pathogenic fungi, under control. So we gave them like a shot in the arm to really grow, and then we killed off the policemen that kept them from growing. You get a double whammy.
Wow.
And we reduced the manganese reducers. See how much they dropped?
Yeah.
And that's the resistance that the plant naturally has is now taken away. The indole-acetic acid producers, which causes the plant to grow and be healthy, is gone. And this work was done way back in 2010 by Bob Kramer and Sobioli. So we've known this information for a long time.
So it's no surprise to you that the human beings, especially in America, their immune systems are being weakened by eating this type of food.
Right. And I hope this sort of points out why that is.
Yes, I can see that now. Yeah.
Now, when I start looking at what genetically modified crops and plants do, you're familiar with DNA.
Mhm.
DNA is made up of base pairs, adenine, guanine, cytosine, and you put those pairs together in a certain way, and that becomes your genes and your genetic expression. It makes you who you are. That's why you look different than I do, Zen. You have a different set of genes.
Mhm.
When we say, well, we're very precise, we use CRISPR technology and we're only moving one thing, and therefore it's essentially the same, except we've just put this one great thing in it that it's now corn borer resistant or rootworm resistant or Roundup resistant. I want to show you, here is a BT gene. So we only put the BT gene in there, but look at everything that's colored are changes that occurred in the genome of the corn plant. Does that look like it's the same corn plant?
No.
Not at all. And I thought about, how do I explain that to someone who's not a quantitative geneticist? Let's say we're just finishing up the football season, so let's use that as an analogy. You have seats on the 50-yard line, just far enough above the bench that you can see everything. I mean, it's perfect. You've had these seats for 20 years, and I mean, you're just an amazing football fan, and you got these amazing seats. You come to a football game, and there's somebody in your seat. You're like, what? So you get an usher, saying, hey, look, this guy's in my seat. And the guy says, well, no, here's my ticket. See, it says this is my seat number. The usher looks at it and says, wow, we must have printed tickets with the same number, 2 tickets with the same number. I'm really sorry. But we have more seats up here in the nosebleed section down at the end zone. So you go down there, we'll get it straightened out for the next game. All right, the game goes on. You watch the game. It's the same game. Is it the same experience?
No.
No way. And look at all the changes. So when we move this gene, that caused this one to move. It's like you're sitting in my seat, so now I got to go over and sit in this other seat. And that guy comes along, I got to sit in another seat. And
Right.
it just goes through it. So all these colors are what got changed when we thought we only changed one gene.
That's an amazing, amazing example. So basically like 10,000 people had to change seats because one guy didn't change a seat.
Right.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Okay,
We've
so
only got a couple minutes left.
yeah,
So,
this is one more slide.
okay, great.
I just kind of wanted to show you the levels of glyphosate that can cause problems. Half a part per million can be an endocrine disruptor. You know, why are our children having trouble deciding whether they're a boy or a girl? You go on down the line, DNA damage at 5 parts per million, total cell death at 10 parts per million. And these are my references that data came from. This is a study that was conducted in an urban setting where there was no exposure to Roundup other than the food. Look at the parts per million. 10, 16, 60.
Yeah. My son had 9 living in suburban Southern California.
And you saw the levels of the
Yep.
damage that does.
Yeah.
And this is male and this is female. Well, we were wondering, why are females so much lower?
Mhm.
We went back and questioned the group that was in the test. We found out that the women did not drink as much beer as the men.
Mm.
And they sprayed the barley that went into the beer with Roundup to desiccate it. So the barley was loaded with glyphosate.
Right. Well, women also menstruate. That might get some of it out. They also breastfeed. That might get some of it out too.
Yeah, the breastfeeding, that's really a nice way to get rid of it. Give it to
Yeah.
your kid.
Mhm. Can you go
Sorry.
back one slide? I just want to capture that. Can you go back one slide? Yeah, that one. Okay. Okay, and I want to show at one point, actually tomorrow in the new MDs, we're going to show, so this 0.5 parts per million of human cell endocrine disruption. That may not sound like a lot, but what they allow on crops is like 20, 30, 100, 200,
Right,
400 parts
200.
per million
Right.
on the crops. So I just want to point out that is a very significant amount, in comparison. Yeah.
And this is how glyphosate breaks down. You go 2 pathways, one through sarcosine down to formaldehyde, or AMPA, which is very toxic, to methylamine to formaldehyde. That's why we saw so much formaldehyde in that GMO corn. As the glyphosate breaks down, it forms formaldehyde, embalming fluid. Real good stuff.
That's extraordinary. And when we showed that slide, that information about your testing, there was such an uproar with the farmers and there was a lot of controversy about whether or not we should publish it, because one farmer told us that level was toxic. That entire field should be dumped in the garbage because it's considered hazardous waste to have 200 parts per million of formaldehyde in the corn. Is that not correct?
That's correct. But did it? No, it went right into the feed stream.
And the feed stream would mean the animals ate it.
Right.
Yeah, and then we could do a whole nother show on what the internal organs of the animals look like that eat this food. They're all
I have
molded.
pictures of that, but no
Yep.
time today to show that. But
Yeah.
I do
Okay.
have that.
Well, I'm sorry to make your time so short, but I really wanted to bring all 3 of you
Yeah.
on. Okay, what's this last one?
This is botulism. This is a normal human stomach, and this is the bacteria that prevents the botulism, Clostridium botulinum, from growing. So you have very little. But with glyphosate in your food, that nice protection you had goes to almost zero, and you get a lot of Clostridium botulinum growing, which produces a neurotoxin, one of the strongest neurotoxins known to man. It's a
Oh.
biological warfare agent.
It's a biological warfare agent, is what
Yes,
how you
is.
would say?
It's a registered agent, so you can't test for it.
Oh my goodness.
So you see all the things that are going wrong. We got quite a problem. We need to address it. Zero tolerance for glyphosate. When people, well, a little bit, I'll just reduce the amount I use. It's like asking, if I asked you how much arsenic you want me to put in your coffee.
Right. So even if somebody does say 30 pounds over 100 acres every 2 years or something like that, even a little bit, that's not going to be remediated by the soil, by the bacteria in the soil?
No, it has a 22-year half-life. So 22 years from now, if you quit it completely, you'd only have half as much in it. Now that sounds like really bad, but hopefully Bob Strike can explain some of the research we've been doing to help remediate the soil so it doesn't take 22 years.
Thank you so much,
Well, that
Michael
wraps up
McNeil.
my quick story.
That was amazing that you did 55 years of research in 20 minutes for us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right, if you could stop screen sharing. Bob, do you have slides you want to share?
I sent you all sorts of
Oh yeah, that's
articles.
right. So Anne, can you put the link in the chat, Anne, and I want to share those images for me, please. Just put it in the link. Don't email it to me. Just put it in the chat directly to me. So Mike, I
Yep.
need you to stop screen sharing somehow.
I'm looking here.
Yeah, the pile of articles got taller and taller, but I think it would be interesting reading for most of people in your audience.
Okay.
Now, Mike had firsthand experience over in Germany and in this country. We've got problems with dairy cows in that if the
Wait,
feed,
hang on one second. I want to introduce you, Bob, but
oh,
I want Michael to take his stop
Yeah,
sharing
what,
first.
what do I click on here?
I think down by where when you click share, I think if you just click stop somehow.
That's what I'm looking for, and I don't see it.
Anne, can you help? Let's see.
Wait.
We want to take down Michael McNeil's screen sharing. Sorry, everybody.
It should be up at the top of the screen. I don't,
No, at the bottom of your screen where
the
it says
bottom.
share, just click to say stop share. Just click stop share.
Oh, okay,
Just-
there. We did it. Okay, it's good. So now Frank, or no, is that it? Frank is talking now, so I see Frank. Right? Okay. All right. So next, Bob Strite. He's from Central Iowa Agronomics. Agronomics? How do you say that?
agronomics, yes.
Agronomics. Okay, he's the founder and president. He's the Central Iowa Agronomy and Supply co-owner. And his mission is to provide crop production services that increase yield and reduce cost using customized programs, cutting edge products, and the latest technology. Bob is an agronomist, a plant scientist, a crop consultant, an international speaker, and an expert in educating audiences and individuals on the correlation between healthy soils and the production of healthy food as it relates to good human health. I think everybody just fell in love with you, Bob. We're so happy to have you here. This is
Oh.
what all of us have been up to for so long, and we so appreciate your commitment. Please tell us. Bob is such a lovely person, folks. I've known him for probably the whole 12 years. Our friend Howard Vligger introduced us. And Bob, please tell us, how could we remediate this glyphosate out of the soil?
Well, people have been looking for an efficient and effective microbial mix that would break Roundup down fairly rapidly. I know myself and another colleague were doing a lot of plot work back in 2010 through 2013, and we really did not find anything that was super effective. And then we had Martha Carlin was referred to us by Don Huber. We had her speak at our conference held in north central Iowa back 2 years ago. And she had enlisted the help. Well, she was a CPA accountant type. And when her 42-year-old marathoner husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's, she converted herself into a world-class microbiologist, biochemist, and she could discuss very deep subjects with the best of them. And anyhow, and she enlisted the help of a scientist by the name of Dr. Raul Cano, who is a microbiologist at the University of California, San Luis Obispo. And what he did, I wanted to ask him, did you watch the movie Jurassic Park before or after you did your work? But they were trying to figure out how to find ancient species, and they were doing deep sea soil cores and ancient amber sleuthing. And they happened upon the lactobacillus bacteria that were able to break down the so-called AMPA, which is the primary metabolite of glyphosate. Normally, AMPA doesn't degrade any further, it converts back into glyphosate, so it's a closed circle. But we have tested it. Michael and Don did a big study up in Wisconsin where they were trying to find out why the big sauerkraut factories and production plants were having to throw away millions of dollars worth of sauerkraut because it was soft, it was spongy, it was gray, it was brown, it wasn't edible. And they looked at every possibility and finally ended up testing to see what the level of glyphosate was. And the farmers were applying, say, 5 ton of poultry litter to the fields before they planted the kraut. And that tied up enough of the minerals that were supposed to keep the plants healthy and the tissue strong and turgid. And without those minerals, the cells were weak. Their diseases came in to a high degree and they had to throw it away. Right now, we're getting some feedback on it because they don't want people to know where it came from. But Michael mentioned the sarcosine pathway. The 200 part per million was real. I know the actual farmer it came from, and it was the analysis was done by a huge food company. They didn't want to be connected with it. But being here with a group called Moms Across America, we were working with a person that was Oxford trained medical forensic pathologist. I can't hardly say that, but just for kicks and giggles, we're up in Minnesota one weekend. He went into a grocery store, pulled 20 boxes of kids' cereal off the shelf and took samples from it, went back to his lab and analyzed it. None of those cereals were below the allowable level of mycotoxin according to standards. So when we think kids are acting goofy nowadays, there's a high probability that that's the problem.
It's not just the food dyes, it could be the mycotoxins too.
Some of them are the worst possible. I think we started investigating one, or Art Dunham did, and he
Okay, well,
hit-
hang on a second, Bob. I'm going to stop you because we only have limited time with you and we could talk forever about all the terrible contamination, but I want you to touch on the remediation if that's okay. And we have this resource page up that because you gave us these glyphosate remediation resources. So can we talk a little bit about the solutions? Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry to cut you short, but we've
they're
gotta get
all
to this.
available. There's about 20,000 gallons of it in a warehouse in Colorado.
Okay.
We sold about 1,500 acres worth this year. And what we're seeing is some fields that were low producers,
Wait a second. The product you're talking about, is that Paleo Power right here?
paleo power.
Should I click on this link or one of these? Which one should I click on?
Do the paleo power because it works on all crops. In Roundup Ready cotton, they saw a 40 or 25% yield increase. In grapes in California, sandy loam soil, they saw a 97.3% disappearance within 5 months in grapes, and the glyphosate level in the grapes was reduced by about 75 to 80% also. So
75 to 80% in how long in grapes?
in 5 months,
5 months lower in grapes.
yes.
Glyphosate. That's amazing. So the wine industry must be very happy to get this information. Have you been able to reach them?
We anticipate going to the Mendocino Wine Festival and talking both about the replacement for glyphosate as far as a burn down, which Howard is shepherding that. And we're going to present information on this and have product on hand so they can grow it. Now, you sent samples in to Bruce Hemming's lab years ago from organic vineyards in California.
Yep.
It was contaminated. So if there's any vineyards that are going to be checked for glyphosate before anyone can buy it, all those growers really should be putting this on their soil at an affordable cost, and there'll be money ahead. We're seeing probably a 10 to 15% increase on most crops. And we think in the strawberries and things like that, it'll probably be closer to 30 to 40% yield increase. The thing is, if people have been fertilizing their lawn, their garden, their trees, their plants, their shrubbery, whatever, with manure from animal said Roundup grain, they can clean that ground up and they're not going to be at risk like that gardener was that was the first person to sue Monsanto successfully. So we think this is going to be a great help. And once we get the ground clean, a person would have the incentive then to keep it clean because we'll eventually see a differentiation in the market based on level of contamination. Now, we are working with an MIT engineer. Uh, he got his PhD in solar physics, and he's going to be inventing handheld devices that will let us test for glyphosate level in grain. We can already use it to test for omega-3 versus omega-6 in animal fats and animal carcasses. So these instruments are going to be,
So they're increasing the omegas and the good omegas in animal?
yes.
Okay.
Without sending samples in, it's going to be a handheld device, very affordable.
Wow. All right, Leslie has a question. Leslie, you have to unmute.
Hi. Hi. So I I know we have short time, but
You gotta make it quick, please.
I have 33 acres in Texas, about an hour outside of Houston, farmland that's been farmed with these glyphosate crops for years. And I'm telling the young lady who's been leasing our land, no more farming. I don't care what it costs in taxes. I don't want the land. But now, could we do a demonstration project and try to treat, is it feasible to try to treat these 33 acres and maybe all 3,000 acres that they've been farmed and maybe get some kind of a, help or grant or I don't know what to do that? Not from you, but these are just all questions. I don't expect answers now, but this is what
You should follow up with, you should follow up with Bob afterwards to
Okay.
see what the feasibility is.
Raul wrote a 20-page paper on what happened in the field in Alabama. And if he saw a 25% yield increase, which in cotton is probably going to amount to $1,000 to $1,500 per acre increase in revenue, the actual cost of purchasing it is just going to be a fraction of that.
But they can't continue to do GMO, right? We've got to switch. So yeah, I can follow up with you. This is really exciting.
Very exciting. I'm so glad that you have a project and you've got a solution right here. This is how it happens, folks.
One thing we advise anybody that sprays, especially Roundup, to do is at the end of the spray season, send a urine sample into John Fagan's lab at Research Health Institute in Fairfield, Iowa. He will test it with a used tripole mass spec at levels down to 60 part per trillion. And if you're above 0.5 part per billion, you've got some potential health problems coming on that could turn into a chronic illness. So that only costs about $90. It's well worth it because even a doctor's visit is going to be a lot more than that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, Health Research Institute is who we work with as well. John Fagan is fantastic. Can you just tell us, my understanding is that paleo power comes from bacteria that comes from deep in the earth or from glaciers or something. Can you tell, where does the bacteria that's doing all this great work come from?
They were discovering a lot of it in different insects that were down thousands of feet in the ocean.
Oh, in the ocean. Okay.
Ocean
Wow.
deep
So
lakes.
Mother Earth gave us the bacteria millions of years ago, probably, to remediate the glyphosate out of our soil now.
Yes.
Great. That's amazing. And so you're saying that now, does it break glyphosate down into non-toxic components or does it chelate it? Like how does it happen?
It simply breaks down into its two components, which is glycine, which is the smallest, very common amino acids, and a phosphorus group.
And are those toxic?
Not at all.
Oh, that's
In fact, not the top selling, top quality human mineral supplements are all chelated with glycine.
so you
Because,
mean so it actually adds glycine to the soil. It's like a supplement to the soil then.
yeah, glycine, when it's attached to a mineral, are go into the body and are absorbed immediately, which you want for your health.
Wow. Okay, and how do people apply it? Do they spray it with a bottle? Do they put it through? How do they do it?
Well, we do a lot of work with amino acids, chelated. We use the same minerals that people take for keeping their manganese and their zinc levels up. We are using them as immune system boosters in that they replace the fungicides, and they're not a toxic product. They're simply amino acids with the minerals that have strong fungicidal properties. So we get complete systemic curative activity that lasts for 40 to 50 days, and they far outperform any commercial fluoride or chloride-based fungicide.
Amazing. And are these products that home gardeners can purchase?
They can. They can also probably take human supplements and break them up and spray them also. But yeah, if they look up Albion, very common mineral on the West Coast, they have plants in.
But I mean, can they buy Paleo Power? Can our people right now?
Yeah, and
Okay.
we'll break it down in the quantities that they would want.
Okay, great. And then how much would they apply per, say, acre or quarter acre? Most backyard farmers, gardeners have like a quarter acre.
Most typically, it's going to be available in a liquid this year, and they would probably put on 8 ounces per acre.
8 ounces per acre. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So for a quarter acre, you'd use a quarter of that amount, and that's not a lot, folks. So in the cost for that, how much would that be for 8 ounces approximately? I don't know if you can do the math right now,
That'd
but
be around $10 to $12.
holy mackerel. For $10 to $12 an acre, we can get glyphosate out in less than 5 months.
Yes.
Holy yes, it's so awesome. Thank you. This is how we're going to make America healthy again, folks. Right here. You saw it on Moms Across America. I'm so excited.
We need you to tell Robert F. Kennedy about him and get those
Oh, I
papers
will.
to him.
Okay, I will.
This is what we want to have happen. Make America healthy again.
Great. Okay, Pat, it has to be a question, not a comment. Okay, real quick.
It is.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
how long do the bacteria stay alive in that bottle of liquid? You know,
They've been alive, kept alive for 3 years, and that is going through repeated freezing cycles. It's a
So-
very hardy microbe.
So far, they last for 3 years from the time of purchase.
Yes.
Or you have an expiration date on the bottle or something.
Yeah, they'll probably be beyond that, but they haven't run the test for beyond that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
They're also looking at human forms that can go into the gut and remediate some of the problems that are occurring in the digestive system.
So amazing. Okay, and so Gary wants to know what's the name of the MIT researcher who's developing the handheld instrument to detect glyphosate?
Arsen Hygen.
Okay, so I'm going to connect you with Gary afterwards because he has some experience in that area, might be able to help. So we'll connect you two afterwards. Thank you, Gary. And anybody else have any other, so where can we buy them? Can we put the link, and where can we buy the Paleo Power?
Address it to Central Iowa Agronomy and Supply.
Central what? Iowa?
Agronomy and Supply.
Agronomy and Supply.
Or
Okay.
Agronomy RX, and I will send you the contact information for those people.
Okay. So Moms Across America will follow up tomorrow with how to purchase Paleo Power. Is that what you're saying? You'll give me this information later?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. And they will follow up with you if you're a backyard gardener. If you are, any farmers, you want to send the link. Which link would they send? Would be the same one? Central Iowa Agronomy? Okay. I think
also put the link to Paleo Power in the chat, and I'm putting it in again right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Anne. I appreciate that. All right. Any other questions? Let me just see. I know, so sorry, Frank, we're going a few minutes into your time, but if you can stay a little bit at a few minutes after 8, usually we go till 8:15. Is that okay?
This is fantastic. I'm learning a lot, and I really appreciate that we have all this fantastic information from
Isn't
Michael
it?
Hill and
Isn't
Robert
it
Schreiner.
exciting? Yeah.
Yes.
So Mark Dudla, one of our favorite regenerative organic farmers from Dudla Farms, is asking, is the yield increase response mainly due to what's P and micro becoming unchelated and are now more available to plants?
Yes, I've got one farmer I worked with in Monroe, Wisconsin, or near Monroe. 4 years, we didn't use a hard fungicide. We have perfect plant health until this last year. He accepted manure from a dairy farmer that came from GMO fed cows, and almost immediately tar spot showed up in the field because it created a mineral deficiency. And the worst disease right now in corn is not a pathogen caused problem, it's a mineral deficiency problem.
And that's because the minerals are being chelated from glyphosate.
And not available for the cells to do what it's supposed to do, keep them healthy, keep them growing.
Right. Basically, as Dr. Don Huber says, it's giving the plant AIDS. It's giving them an extreme immune system deficiency.
Correct.
Right. Which is what's happening in America right now today, folks. It's no surprise that what's happening on the farms is what's happening in our people. We have an extreme immune deficiency problem in America, and we're not going to fix it with vaccines. It's only going to be fixed with proper nutrients in our bodies, which means we need to have proper nutrients in the soil. So anything else to add, Bob, before we move on to Frank? Let me see if we have any other questions too. Oh, Mark says, can I remediate CAFO manure and use it on organic land without an issue? Could you put this on CAFO manure?
I've discussed this with both Raul and Martha, and the time is right to get some put into some hog pits and find out ourselves if it works, because the microbes are both aerobic and anaerobic. So if so, do we need to stir it during the winter, or will it move itself through the liquid body?
Right.
Okay. We think we'll see some good results, but we want to quantify it.
Okay, so more work needs to be done on that, but that's a great question, and I think I'm hopeful about the results on that. It sounds positive.
We've got we got a lot of fields in Iowa that have had, with this deep pit manure, they've had 15 gallons of Roundup applied over the last decade. That's 15 gallons per acre.
15 gallons per acre, and then what are you saying now? What's the result?
We expect some of these fields to start crashing.
Oh,
Turning yellow in June, dead brown in July.
right. Okay, because they're using so much of it.
The glyphosate will desorb off the clay portion of the soil, move into the liquid portion of the soil, and be picked up by the roots of the plant.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And it'll affect the crops. Now, Frankie's asking, might this paleo power work to remedy citrus greening? Citrus greening, might it help with citrus greening, the problem in Florida?
I think it will, because it also seems to prevent the uptake of heavy metals. And that should be a big help for tree crops everywhere.
Okay.
But if we start getting the Firehawk in use and quit the glyphosate and use the Firehawk for weed control, we can improve the whole situation by putting the Firehawk together with the paleo power.
That'd be amazing. Can we remediate mycotoxins, particularly ochratoxin, with paleo power?
You should, by controlling the glyphosate, getting rid of that, you'll stop the chelation of the minerals, and your diseases should pretty much disappear.
Oh my goodness. Isn't this wonderful, everybody? Isn't this exciting? So exciting.
Good news. Good news.
All right. Well, we are on our way to making America healthy again. Bob Strite, thank you so much for that fantastic presentation. We are definitely going to be sharing this far and wide. And we're so happy you took time out of your very, very busy day to be with us. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome. And so you can follow up with him at paleopower.co. That's where you can find out more. And you can contact us at Moms Across America. Also, tomorrow we'll be sending out an email with information about how to get in touch with him as well. So our next up is Frank Arlia Jr. He's the CEO of Harvest Harmonics Corporation. He's based in Clearwater, Florida. Also comes up to New Jersey a lot. And he says, our mission is that we believe that people of the earth deserve healthy food to eat and a healthy environment to live in. We also believe that farmers who work hard to provide our food deserve to make a good living while doing it. Hear, hear. And it is our mission to help farmers around the world to grow healthier, more productive plants. And he is going to tell you more about this fascinating company and the story behind it and the technology, which absolutely can transform the farming system and health in America and beyond. So welcome, Frank. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Zen. Thank you so much, and thank you, everyone, for having me. It's been exciting ever since I've met with Zen and learned about Moms Across America, and the power of this group is what this country actually needs. I actually think that having Michael and Robert going before me actually saved time, because they both tapped into what was the basis for my involvement in the agricultural industry. Most of my life, I was a forensic accountant. When I discovered this technology that could revolutionize the agricultural industry, I pivoted my entire life from accounting, shifted everything, left New York, moved to Florida, and surrounded myself with farmers and started focusing on finishing this technology with the inventor in Italy. Just the reason why I said that, having Michael and Robert speak, when they already explained the health crisis and where it's coming from. So I don't have to go into all of that detail. Okay. The backstory here is I met the inventor because he saved my mother's life. That's a story in itself that would take 30 minutes to go through. But he did save my mother's life when I discovered how he was doing it, which was through physics. Okay. It was literally quantum physics and understanding how physics was senior to chemistry. It woke me up to a whole new world that I was not educated to, didn't have any knowledge in, actually. And what happened was in these meetings, he introduced me to a technology that he had developed but wasn't ready yet, which was called Kiminasi plants. And the reason why he developed it over the last 20 years is because having a medical center and being a medical professional in northern Italy, in Como, Italy, and testing bodies in Europe, mainly Italy, with his technology of measuring the frequencies in the body, he found that everyone is infected with chemicals, and the chemicals are coming from the food. And the medical industry will never get ahead of this. As long as there's chemicals in our food, the medical industry will never get ahead of it.
Can I just interrupt here for 1 second? I just love it that you said infected with chemicals. The real disease is the chemical pollution in America. It's not some, these other viruses and bacteria that are in the world. Our bodies naturally fight them off if we are healthy. The real infection is the agrochemicals. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so what he had shown me is how my mother had become so sick, right? And the details behind that. And then he said to me, he said, look, I need someone to help me. I speak, read, and write fluent Italian. So he needed someone that he could trust, who spoke his language, who he can turn over this technology to in order to get it known internationally. So I took on the responsibility, turned over my accounting firm to my staff. It is still run by my staff. I live in Florida now, and I devote all my time to Harvest Harmonics and getting this technology proven over and over again with more and more science internationally and nationally. Ultimately, the chemicals in our bodies are what's causing all of our health problems, period. That's the draw. And all it's coming from food. So I appreciate that Michael and Robert have already laid the groundwork, explained the details of all of that. But there are so many chemicals. And as they only spoke about glyphosate, there are, Robert, how many chemicals would you say are in the agricultural industry besides glyphosate?
Over 10,000.
Okay, so I don't need to say anything else. Our technology is designed to take the chemicals completely out of the industry because of products like what Robert just mentioned, okay, and other products that are there are hundreds and thousands of other products that are out there that work extremely well in a natural environment that could help farmers grow, but they're missing a key ingredient, which is getting the plants to operate at their genetic optimum. And that's what Fulvio Balmelli, the inventor of the Kiminasi plants technology, that's what he had developed. And that's the technology that I've been bringing to the world. We started out introducing it to farmers, but immediately realized that we had to work with universities and just keep working with universities because it needed so much science because there was not enough science behind it. After a year and a half of working with scientists from universities and getting more and more recognition, we decided, okay, we need to take this to the next level. So in 2024, we decided to go after every country on the planet. I'm proud to say that as of December 2024, you know, we've made contact and agreements with 61 countries, bringing this to a point where now, let me just explain it to you this way. In America, we're kind of in a desperate situation. That's why we're pushing to make America healthy again, because we know how bad it is. Imagine the countries that are not even well developed like we are, and they were introduced to chemicals only 30 years ago, but they have been monitoring their statistics and they know how bad their health crisis is. They picked up on it right away. They're discovering diseases that they never knew about, that didn't even exist in their countries before. So all of this is coming from the chemicals. So when I speak to other countries, they're more inviting, they're more grasping, they're more reaching. And it really comes down to the fact that they see the writing on the wall. But since we were one of the first developed countries and we developed very quickly, it's almost like now it's embedded in our system. So re-educating our farmers to understand that there's a solution out there that just needs to be utilized is a challenge. And that's the challenge that we've been up against. I know Zen said that you won't believe the solution. It'll be mind-blowing and it would be actually somewhat mind-boggling, but I'm going to explain it to you as simple as I can. Okay?
Thank you.
You know, we're going to start with just the simple concept of you have a cell phone, but you don't know how it works, you know, but you know that it works, right? Most people drive their car. They don't know how the car works, but it works, you know? Most people they don't know how their motor operates. That's why they have a mechanic, right?
That's okay.
Yeah.
We have a very smart audience. You can explain it to us. We'll
No.
get it.
No, I'm not even saying that. The point is that the inner workings of the science behind this is just based on frequencies. There's signaling system that have been, this is how simple it is. The inventor listened to the frequencies and all the interactions within the plant and studied plants for years to understand how they work at the anatomy level of the internal workings. You know, we hear the word anatomy of the body, anatomy of a system. Well, the anatomy of a plant is comprised of structure, but it's also comprised of its internal workings. The internal workings are the communication systems, the frequencies within the plant. Okay, same way that we have communication systems within our bodies. We can measure some of that by measuring our pulse. That's one of the measurements. So you got to think of the same concept with the plant. The plant has thousands of frequencies throughout its entire anatomy. And it's measured, then it was copied, and then it was given back to the plant in a boosted manner. So the way I normally explain this when I'm talking to a government, to keep it super simple, is I tell them, you remember this technology, the CD,
Yep.
old, outdated, And all you could do with this, because the plastic is worthless, but the information that's programmed on it is the information that has the value. Well, the Kiminasi booster, plant booster, this is the future CD. This is metal. It has 3,000 programs on it directly related to plants and getting plants to boost all of their systems to reach their optimum potential. This technology is placed on a simple pipe like this, has a compartment. You put this in there, lock it in, and then all the water that goes through this pipe becomes intelligent water. Brings that information to the plant. The plant does what it normally does with any irrigation water. It just absorbs the water, but now when it absorbs the water, it has the programming inside. That programming gets the plant to use the sun's energy more efficiently, produce more sugar, and interact with the microbes in the soil, which is, the bacteria that Robert is talking about in the paleo power, right? So the plant would now have a newfound friend to work with, to continue to produce and aggressively produce its growth potential. But because it utilizes the soil and gives energy back to the soil, because it's producing more sugar, that sugar, it pushes through the root system to the microbes, and the microbes are feeding off of that sugar. So it's this whole ecosystem between the soil and the plants and the sun. And so I can get into the technicalities of that, but to really keep it simple, this is the plant physiology at work. The technology, all it does is boost what's naturally there. Once the plants are growing and expanding at that level, they're producing more fruit. They're producing better quality fruit. They're producing better quality crops and vegetables. So ultimately, we are the ones that benefit from that, the higher density fruit and vegetables, the increase in quality, and the decrease in using chemicals, because the technology replaces the need for chemicals. Rather than enforcing the plant through chemical usage, we're siding with the plant, and we're basically just giving the plant what it does naturally in a boosted communication system. Is really
So
what
it's basically telling the plant to absorb more sun and just to work, like to function at a optimized way. Anne is saying the plants are
Exactly.
harmonizing to the harmonic in the water. Is that sort of it? It's like sort of harmonizing together.
Very close. The information that's in the water now is it is harmonized. It's the plant is naturally harmonized to it, because it's the same information that the plant already has.
It's like they're singing together. So they're just going to bloom and grow faster.
Exactly.
Is it
Think
kind
of
of like plant homeopathy? Anne is asking.
You know what? Think of it as plant homeopathy. However, as with the added boost of a personal trainer, because these plants are becoming Olympians. I mean,
Yeah, because
here's
it's not something different. It's not like snake venom given to a human. It's not a
no.
It's the
It's what
same
the plant
message.
already
Yep.
does.
It's what the
It's
plant
what the
already
plant
has.
already has.
Yep.
So here's the best analogy I can give you in comparison to a human being.
Mhm.
Everyone on this call has the potential to become an Olympian, but you had to do the training of an Olympian. If you
Yeah.
trained like an Olympian, you would be a faster runner. You would be a faster weightlifter, a stronger weightlifter. So you have that potential. It's in your genetics, but we didn't choose to live that life of training. So
Yeah.
these Olympians did. Well, all these plants, they have this Olympian potential. And it's instead of helping them with information, we've been abusing them with chemicals. So we take away the abuse and we clean up the lands. But if we give them the information that they need so they become Olympians, now we have plants that are producing at a high level, and the reality is we don't know. I don't think, if for the farmers that are on the call, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody really knows the true potential of what a plant can produce. Especially in the last 120 years with all the chemicals, they've never seen the actual benefits of the plant. So Zen just brought up my website. I was going to bring up my PowerPoint, but the majority of the information that's in my PowerPoint are the scientific results of, what we've done around the world, so.
That's fantastic. Well, you could still show that. I can make you a host. We don't have much time. I have to leave by 8:15. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to allow time for questions too, in case anybody had any questions. But do you want to mention, well, here, I think on your website, it shows the crop growth, right? There's a page that shows
If you go to our
the
science page, you'll see a lot of our science trials.
science. Okay, great. Just thinking right now. Okay, there we go. Just going to pause that so I don't hear it all right now. So here is the science
How to
trials,
engineer.
rational and background. This is what it looks like that you put in the pipe, you attach it to your pipes, right? And it's
Exactly.
got
Those
the
are
disc in there
pipes
that
you attach.
carries the
You know what?
message.
Zen, why don't you let me share my screen
Okay, sure, I will. One
and
second.
let me do this. Let me just show you. Hold on.
Wait, I have to go to participants. Anne, can you help somehow, please? Go to
No, I
participants.
got it. We're good.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, gotcha.
Fantastic. So I'm going to skip through. These are some of our statistics. I'm going to skip through a lot of this stuff. Okay. So what we discovered, the two main things is that we got to clean up the water because the water pollution is coming from the chemicals, and we have to clean up the soil because all the soil is being destroyed from the chemicals. And our technology allows the plants to now start cleaning up their own environment, because by removing the chemicals and using this technology along with more natural supplements, we can clean up the soil very quickly. So rather than getting into, we got all the health benefits, and these are just more is the benefits for the technology. All right. This is a slide that shows how the technology works. When farmers are cultivating the land, they're releasing CO2 and nitrogen into the air, which is all the chemicals that are in the soil. When you start using our technology, right, we are actually starting to reverse that, because as the plant germinates, it will start pulling CO2 and nitrogen out of the air. Okay, the plant will do this by naturally, because the plant will pull the CO2, but the plant is now enriching the microbes in the soil, and then the microbes will pull the nitrogen and convert it into usable nitrates, which can then feed the plants. So it starts boosting the ecosystem. And all of
Right.
this
And it's also a climate change solution. You're saying it's also absorbing the carbon.
exactly, because it's taking the carbon out of the air, and then the nitrogen, the microbes are pulling the nitrogen out of the air, and they're creating and making a natural fertilizer. We've already proven that we've cut fertilizer usage down for the farmers and the scientists that have been using our technology to validate this. As a matter of fact, I had to create a testing system for the farmers and for the scientists, because they still couldn't grasp how, if it was complex, it would be more understandable to them. But because it's so simple, they can't understand the simplicity of it. It becomes, a challenge that this one little device could create these effects. So as we're pulling more carbon and nitrogen out of the air, the microbial population is growing and expanding. And this continues until we've got healthier soils and healthier fields. Now, we have been testing this all over the world. We've completed over 37 trials now. 12 of them are published. We're getting ready to publish another 4 trials. There are I'm going to slide down. I'm going to start going all the way towards the end because I can hear. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Like this farmer is standing in the middle of his turmeric field. This is in Puerto Rico. All right. He's standing in the middle of his turmeric field because he wanted to show that his
Wow.
his normal turmeric crops are up to his waist, and these are almost up to his head.
Wow. That's
You know,
amazing.
this is
Yep.
organic turmeric, but that's just one example, right? These are asparagus results where we had a 49% increase, you know, in result. These are all farmer results all over the world. And it goes on and on, you know, but I'm going to scroll all the way down because I have literally over 100 results in here. And I'm just going to scroll to, let's see. Here we go. All right. Now we're going to talk about what I did is to get recognition of this technology in 2021. I launched a challenge to the scientific community, and I said, look, find something wrong with this technology. And we explained how it worked. And then we had the first university in Ecuador and Peru took us up on it. And then they published their results. And then universities in Colombia picked that up and they published their results. And this is now a government agency in Ecuador showing the increase in rice. This, by the way, you're going to love it because this was grown with zero fertilizer. The control crop, they used 100% fertilizer. And with our technology, they used zero fertilizer. And we outperformed by 14.29%. That was a government agency in Ecuador. This is a University of Espach in Ecuador. And this was feed crop for the cows. Here,
So feed crop increased by 92% for
the
the cows?
tonnage.
The tonnage?
Yeah,
Wow.
the tonnage of feed. Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Then this is also Espach and corn. You know, the control crop grew to normal 7 feet, and here they measured up to almost 15 feet on
That's
on the
incredible.
corn crop.
Okay,
you
so
know?
our moms are asking, you have to answer, can we buy this product? Mark is saying from a garden hose, we can buy this for home use?
Right. So what I'm preparing now is because I realized that on a scientific level, we're doing really, really well, but we need the support of the public. We need the support of the public to really see that, hey, we want this because, you know, we're finalizing this pipe, right? We're going to start mass producing it so that you can purchase it. But if you wanted to put yourself on a waiting list, and we'll let you know when it's ready, you would just send an email.
Like
to-
pre-order, like you would pre-order a book.
Well, right now I wouldn't take any money from anybody. When we're ready to deliver, then you can pre-order. But
All right, so what's the link? How do we do that? We need to know.
service@harvestharmonics.com. Just send your information to service@harvestharmonics.com.
Do you have any idea of how much it's going to cost and any like range?
You know what? I'll survey the moms because
Okay.
we
Okay.
want to get it out and we want the support of the moms. We had a price in mind, but I want to, the good thing about the technology is once you install it, it lasts for 2 years.
Okay.
So the disc only has to be replaced every 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. There's no
Right.
power involved. You don't plug in, you just connect it and you're ready to go.
And
But-
so if you put it on the hose and then you put another hose onto it and you put it into a sprinkler, it's still all of it, all good. It will still get the.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can connect it to your sprinkler system. You can connect it to your hose. You know, it works. You know, we have the connections for a hose connection. So it's really simple to use. And the best part is we've had homeowners that have used it and they see their grass growing and they see their flowers growing. And especially here in Florida with all the fruit trees, people are calling us up and saying, thank you. My mangoes are growing like mad. You know, so we need that support because that support then will get the moms and the public to go to their local grocery store and say, hey, we want Kiminasi products. We want Kiminasi crops. And they'll be like, what is that? And then direct them to the website.
Well,
And
can
then
they just say Harvest Harmonics if they don't remember how to pronounce Kiminasi? Can they say Harvest?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so Anne is asking, do you need a different disc for different plants?
Nope.
Okay,
It is so simple.
It has 3,000, from what I understand, you said before, 3,000 plant genetics. So it's going to
3,000 programs related directly to the plant's physiology.
Okay. Wow.
And so just understand that for a farmer, they have, I've personally installed, over 100 pivots. For those of you that don't know what a pivot is, it's those big irrigation systems that the cornfields use, or the cotton fields or the wheat fields. And they put out thousands and thousands of gallons per minute. And we can install on any size farm anywhere in the world, but there's no power like the power of the public and the consumer. So if we get Moms Across America behind us, that would be a godsend for us and for the country.
Okay, well, amazing. Well, we love to be behind solutions that create, healthy communities. So we love this. We would love it if our network that was growing food was able to grow food faster, better, taller, more nutrient dense with less weeds and less pests. We would love it if people who are interested in growing food would say, hey, this could support me. I don't have such a green thumb, but maybe this will help out and it will be encouraging for more people to grow food. Because what we see is what we need to have is local food security, one street at a time. And that's our whole neighborhood food network program that Anne really headed up, and Ann Temple worked her butt off on that. She's the inspiration for me moving to a farm and growing food, because she sends me pictures of her tomatoes and sauces and peppers and barbecues, sauces and all that. And so yeah, thanks, Anne, for that. So we will get this out. Anne will put this email together for everybody.
Absolutely.
And we will be, featuring some highlights in the email and also links to all of your information. And with that, so you just want people to email you at service@harvestharmonics.com that they want the Kiminowski disc, or you can just say the Harvest Harmonics, right? Hose attachment for the garden.
The crop booster. That's it.
Crop booster. Okay, great. Thanks. Mark Dubla, you have a question?
I can keep you up to speed on what our trials. We did a quarter of our organic acres using Frank's disc, and it's all side by side. So everything that we sprayed, so we have an 80-foot boom, 20 foot of it all got sprayed, and then the other, didn't. So anyways, we have a side by side through our entire farm.
I would use the word watered, though, with the crop booster, not sprayed. Okay.
Right. Well, sprayed with water, yeah.
Yeah, watered with the crop booster. Yeah, Harvest Harmonics. That's great.
Thank you, Mark.
I didn't know that you knew about this already. That's fantastic.
You hooked me up. Thank you very much, Zen. And I immediately purchased a unit. We did biodynamic sprays, part of Demeter, which is what they do in Europe. And we did it across everything we sprayed. It was on all fall. So thank you. We got to know it just in time to put it on.
That's great. Okay, so we'll see your results in the spring and summer, right?
I hope so. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you did some testing beforehand, do you think? Did you do it on nutrients and all that? Testing?
I didn't do any testing before, but it is a side by side. So
oh, side by side. That's right.
Anywhere in the field, every pass, right, has treated and untreated with Frank's device.
Great. Fantastic. Look how exciting. Oh my gosh. All right. You made my night.
Very exciting.
Any other questions before we sign off?
I did want to say that in the next 2 weeks, we're going to have 2 different versions of an explainer video, that I would love to send to all your moms.
Great, we will, and we'll put it on our website so people can see it as well. We have people already asking, can you drink the water? Would it help humans?
Yes, because the programming, look, the water that you're drinking right now already has information in it, but you don't know what information it has. The water that you drink, if you were drinking the crop booster water, that information has nothing to do with the human body. It's all for the plant's physiology. So it would have no effect on human beings. And we've tested, we've done what they did in Europe. They have special types of testing that has to be done to make sure that something is safe. So we've done all of that. And we had to do special types of testing because nobody else had the technology. So they require additional types of testing in order to get European approval. Remember, the technology was designed by an Italian inventor.
Yes. Italian inventor who saved your mother's life from congenital heart failure. She was given a couple
Yeah.
months to live.
She
And
had-
you,
she
being
had-
the good Italian son that you are, took your mom to Italy for a month and saved her life. You didn't say that part in the beginning. I just want people to know that. And then
Yeah,
you
that
helped,
was-
you helped Fulvio Balmelli, right? The inventor out with a couple $100,000 without asking for a contract, just from the generosity of your heart. You helped him out. And then later on, he came back and said, I want you to have 50%. And you heard not 50% of income, but 50% responsibility for saving the planet. It looks to me like you're taking on 100% responsibility for saving the planet. And we're so grateful that you are doing this. I just want everybody to know that you're an extremely generous person, and I'll toot your horn if you won't.
Thank you, Zen, because I wouldn't have talked about any of that, but that's fine. That's fine. Now that I'm blushing,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Anybody have any other questions for Frank besides how fast can we get this? Okay. Is the disc length of use measured in time or in water used? That's 2 years. Oh, good question,
Yes,
Frank.
that's a great question. So I'll explain this as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
We did a survey with farmers when we were in R&D, and farmers would not be interested in something that they had to replace every year. So because the original technology was good for a year, and then the inventor had to figure out how to get it to last longer. He was able to get it to go to 3 years, in time, based on, yes, volume of water, and it's a unique scientific measurement with how he programs, because the machine that does the programming doesn't exist anywhere in the world. We don't even worry about anybody trying to copy it or reverse engineer it, because it's virtually impossible. So what he did was he was able to reach 3 years, but the time to program it was 6 times more, 7 times more. It wasn't cost effective. At 2 years was the highest we could get it. So any installation that we do will only last up to 2 years, no matter how big the farmer is or how small the garden is. The systems that would be for a home would go up to 75 gallons a minute, and most homes do not use 75 gallons per minute. That's a lot of water. So if we're not worried about for homeowners and gardeners, they would have if the system would work for them. And so when we do sell it to a homeowner, it's going to be one simple price.
Okay.
For farmers, it's based on water volume, distance, size, acreage. There's a whole formula involved.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So Mark is saying when is a human version coming out with a water treatment like Kangen water?
Okay, so there is a system that Mr. Balmelli did develop for like a Kangen system. It was from out of Germany that he teamed up with a company in Germany. But these systems are so expensive that I never got involved with them. They do exist,
Okay.
Kiminasi water does exist, but they cost about $5,000, and so because the machine itself is expensive. So Mr. Balmelli is designing now his own machine so he can bring the cost down. When that is finalized, we can talk about that, because that's something that I think everybody would be interested in, but it has to be affordable also.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to support human health with frequencies and not, supplements and chemicals and drugs would be phenomenal. He should have a good amount of security before he gets that out, because the pharmaceutical companies are not going to like that.
No, and you know what? He's being recognized right now because he was nominated last year for the Nobel Peace Prize, and he was also he received the Instra Award, which is a very long name, but it's out of Asia. They recognize him as a top researcher for 2024, and he received a very big. He was in the papers and everything. It was a big award that he received. for developing this technology. But yeah, he's getting recognized internationally.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm so glad that you two hit it off and that see, this is another example of how a breakthrough can come from a breakdown, right? Your mother almost, on the brink of, losing her life. You guys created a massive breakthrough, by meeting each other, by trusting each other, by you supporting him, by him having the support to do, create this invention and bring it out to the world. I just love it. When we first talked, maybe a month ago, you had 37 countries on board. Now you've got 61. That to me is a real testament to your ability to communicate what this product does and the benefits of it. It's just fantastic. It's so exciting.
I will tell you, it was an exciting in 1 week. We had 10 countries, and I was booked with appointments solid, and we had 10 countries already agreeing to, okay, let's move forward. We want to do this. And with some of these countries, we have signed agreements, but most of the 61, we have verbal agreements. About 20 of those countries were going through their own elections and said we can't do it until everybody's back in office.
All crazy.
And the new administration is in, but we definitely want to move forward because we want to get rid of the chemicals in our countries. So everybody wants to get rid of the chemicals, and
we can do it. We can do this quickly. This is not like a phase in or phase out thing. You put this device in your irrigation system, and that year it sounds like you can use less chemicals, less fertilizer, less
exactly,
or if none at all, right?
And no, less is the right word, because I would treat the land just like an addict, because if you just do a complete withdrawal, you don't know what's going to happen to land. You don't know what's going on in the soil. So you want to use the technology and start cutting back on the chemicals and replacing what you cut back with organic matter, composting. Robert Streit's paleo power to start cleaning up the soil.
Yes.
Right. What Michael was talking about, of ways of cleaning up the soil. So you want to, it's a transition. Everything is a transition. It's not, I've had a couple of farmers that said, oh, I'm going to stop using everything altogether. And I'm like, whoa, if you don't know what's going on in your soil and you haven't measured and tested, how do you know there's even enough energy to support your plants? Do not do a complete withdrawal. You take the technology, and season by season, you start adjusting. And we even gave them a program on how to do it. Just like, it's almost like taking somebody off of drugs and getting them on vitamins. You got to get them healthy again. It's the same thing with the soil. You got to clean it up. So I'm so happy to hear about the paleo power, because now this is something that I can recommend to my farmers to look into, to clean up faster.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you came on this call. I'm so glad. I think there are other farmers on this call tonight too. I'm sorry we didn't get to acknowledge everybody. But as people are saying on here, that I was right. It was a very important call, and I'm so glad that you all hear that and acknowledge it. And I want to once again, really acknowledge that the reason why these wonderful men and brilliant men are on this call is because they believe in the power of moms. And Michael McNeil told us, he's not on the call now, but he told me years ago that he would have workshops with farmers, say 100 farmers, and he would talk all about glyphosate, and he would ask them to stop using it. The next year he would have them, or within 6 months or whatever it was, he would have them back again. Only 10% had stopped using Roundup. The next year, the next time he had a meeting, he would invite the wives for a luncheon. And then guess what happened the next year? 90% of the farmers were no longer using glyphosate. It was a huge difference when the women were there elbowing their husbands saying, you listen to him, we're going to stop using this, right? So it's the women that, for the most part, insist on holding the line for safety in our country. And I have to say, there's a lot of people out there. I know you said you're talking about phasing out, but like Michael McNeil said, there cannot be a compromise for our children's health. And there will be people who'll say you can use a little bit, maybe, I don't know, Frank, if it's the first year or not, but we've got to have a stance that we are going for zero use of agrochemicals, and we are going for healthy soil, and reducing the weeds. And the other point that you mentioned before, I want to make sure to mention too, is I learned a long time ago from a farmer, I'm not sure which one, but the pests are like a lion that's hunting. A lion that's hunting will not go for the strongest gazelle. A lion that is hunting will go for the weakest gazelle. And what these pests do when they see a healthy, vibrant, nutrient-dense plants like we're talking about with Harvest Harmonics is they're going to be like, don't really like, those are super high nutrient. You saw the bricks meeting, right? It was very high. I'm not going to I'm going to go over for these sick plants. Some of the sick plants might be GMO, they might be heavy pesticide use, they might be conventional, they might be whatever,
Right.
but they're going to be plants that are not as healthy. And so what happens is you have less pests, and then when you have that organic matter in the soil, you have less weeds, because a lot of the weeds come when there's a nutrient deficiency in the soil, ironically enough, to put the nutrients back into the soil. The weeds come to help the soil in most and many parts. So anyway, when you have the right nutrient density, am I saying this correctly, in the soil, you're going
You
to
are
have.
saying it correctly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, great. I'm glad my understanding is good. So thank you so much. Did you have one more thing you want to say before we sign off?
Well, I want to say thank you and Happy New Year to everyone. It's going to be it's going to be a great new year. You know, things are really exciting. You know what? The
Yeah.
power of moms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
know. I
We're
know
gonna do
because I
it.
know the power. I know the power of my mom.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's why you found out about this invention and did, is because of your mom. I love that. Isn't that fantastic, everybody? I love that.
Plus,
We love you.
let's just say an Italian mom.
An Italian. Oh, yeah. Well, she wouldn't have raised her son any other way to take care of her that well. That's
Quick
amazing.
question, will you keep adding plants to your disc? Because there are many more than 3,000 edible plants.
No.
There are maybe
Okay,
3,000
so let me
edible
clarify.
plants in a book I have in my library.
Yeah, let me clarify. That there's 3,000 programs that
Mhm.
will handle every single plant on planet Earth.
Oh, but now some plants are enemies and some are friends. Is it going to help some and hurt others?
If they are using the sun's energy, photosynthesis, they're all similar in that way. So all plants will benefit from the technology. As a matter of fact, that was the challenge that I put out. I challenged to find something wrong with the technology. You'll find the crop that it didn't work with. And so far, all our trials, which I did not mention this, but none of our trials are paid for. Every agreement that I have with every scientist and with every government and every university is that we do not fund any of the trials. Unlike the chemical companies and the pharmaceutical industry, we do not pay for any of the trials. We tell them, if you want to test the technology, we'll give it to you for free, but it has to be independently tested and all your results have to be published. And so just something, just to know that when you read our trials and read our studies, we didn't pay for any of that. All these countries are volunteering their time, energy, and money because they want the solution also.
Right. Yeah.
Thank
So very gathering data in a way that is very clean and pure. It's not independent
Absolutely.
studies. I mean, it's not studies from your industry. It's not you're not the company that's paying for all of it. Other people are.
Exactly. We're not even we're not even involved. We give them the technology, we give them the protocols to use, right? We tell them don't break these rules because this is the way that you have to use the technology, and they follow. It's simple to use, and then as long as they follow our instructions, and then we just monitor the trial with them, and they tell us the results play by play.
Yeah, I love that on your one of your presentation things, you say instead of GMO, you're doing OGM, which is, or tell us what that means.
So instead of GMO, we are OMG, which is organically managed genetics.
Oh, okay. OMG. Okay, great.
OMG,
That's
which
okay.
which gets translated to oh my God, but we say it's organically managed genetics. We're working with the plant, not changing the plant.
Right. Really fantastic. Well, thank you, Frank, for your time, for your passion, for your dedication.
you.
I'm sure you're working like 18 hours a day, and it's well worth it, because this is something that really will transform, and Bob too, I don't know if he's still with us or not, but that paleo power is so exciting. I can't imagine better solutions for the soil. Can't
Very
wait to
exciting.
see Mark Dudla's results that I hope we're the exclusive, Mark, first people to get to see the results of what and by the way, you did do some testing before with Moms Across America. We tested your black beans, your regenerative organic black beans. So we want to test them again after after using, Harvest Harmonics and see the nutrient density. I think that'll be very exciting. All right, everybody. Hard to end the show, but this is way over time and we loved hearing these solutions. Thank you so much for being on tonight. We will follow up with a fantastic email with all the solutions. And we're so excited. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for being on
Thank
the
you,
call.
everyone. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.